go on a journey into science fiction without it being science fiction anymore. It's very much here. So I have the pleasure to have one of the biggest friends of London Rolling Film Festival here with me, Tom Paton, who is a filmmaker. Yes, please.
Thanks, I'll give you £20 on the
I think you can do better than this, though. Let's try that again. Okay, better. Now I'm happier. Now I can go on. So you've worked in the film industry for years now. You've produced a lot of movies, but you are one of the first one to use artificial intelligence to make your movies. How long ago did you start using this technology?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I took my glasses off so I can't see your disgusting faces about AI. So I basically started using artificial intelligence really early, like 2018. We started experimenting with it. It's because I saw a short film called Sunspring. I don't know if anybody saw this, where they trained a language model on 50 sci-fi scripts, and then they tried to shoot it seriously. A short film with Thomas Middleditch in it, and it was absolutely fucking awful. But I immediately saw this and thought, okay, this is something, like this will go somewhere. And I've always been one of these people that's VFX focused and technology focused, and so I immediately started to try to build our own iterations of that. And primarily at first we were using it for audio, and so we were using it a lot in sound mixing stuff and trying to speed up how we did the deliverables of sound. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I've done like 9 feature films in 8 years, so I was working like super fast.
That's mental.
Yeah, thanks. I'm actually only 22, this is why I look so old. Yeah, and so we were going so quickly, it was always trying to find like workarounds really, and then during COVID, like everybody, there was nothing going on, and I took a 2-picture film deal out in the Caribbean. I know, I'm sorry, you were all inside, but while I was there, I decided, okay, I'm going to do something with this AI stuff I've been messing around with, and I basically spent my evenings training my own large language models, messing around with an early thing called latent diffusion, and really trying to build the company out. And so this is like a secret, guys. My company's called Pigeon Shrine, which was a joke because Pigeon is the god of trash, and everything we were making was so bad that we were just offering up the shit. But then it got really good, and I kept the name, so here we are.
Okay. I'll ask more details about a few things you said that sounded Aramaic to me. Okay, but we'll get into that in a second. We have a trailer of one of your latest films.
Okay, can I warn you guys?
Yes.
So what you're about to see, we don't sound mix this trailer until tomorrow. So this could be absolutely fucking awful. I'm so sorry. But yeah, hopefully it's alright.
But it's like a massive preview for us.
Yeah, this is like a really big exclusive. If it doesn't look like absolute shit, sorry guys.
But it's still a big preview. So yeah, let's
do it.
Yeah, let's do it. It will be on.
I have no idea if that's alright.
That's a very interesting point of view on trailers. It's just so yeah.
The leader made the DCP for that, so I blame you for that. Whatever.
So yes, what do you want to tell us something about these?
Well, I think we should probably start on like some even footing. So basically, who has used ChatGPT in here? Put your hand up for me. Hands up. If you've used it, don't be shy. Okay, now leave your hands up for me. If you will put your hand up, just leave it up. Who's pitching after this to the pitch corner? I caught you, motherfuckers. I know what you're going to do. Okay, so at least now we can get that out the way. Like, people are using artificial intelligence. It's consumer focused now. Yeah, great. What? Is that right? No? Oh, no? Okay, there you go. Yeah, this one's worse.
You just keep it a little bit further.
Okay, there.
Can you switch, maybe?
Is that better? It was that, look. Okay, right. Yeah, so, look, people are using artificial intelligence. It's consumer focused now. And I think that as an industry, there's this weird paradigm going on right now where people are outwardly pretending they're disgusted, but actually behind the scenes, it's being adopted very, very fast. And I don't know if I'm the first to really adapt it into mainstream filmmaking, but I'm certainly the first to be honest about it, which I think is important. I think that the reality of this as a technology is it is not going away. If you think that, and we will probably get into this, I'm guessing, but no amount of strikes on the planet will force governments to regulate what is happening, because these are the same people who only just figured out how Facebook advertising works. So if you think that they're coming into the rescue here, that isn't going to happen. And so we have to get real as an industry, because this is my personal belief. Like, there's two reasons why I'm such an advocate for artificial intelligence. And the first one is really about the industry. You know, we willingly handed the keys to our art form to technology companies 12 years ago. You know, we gave them access to your brains. We let them train themselves on your watching patterns. When you look at Netflix and I look at Netflix, you get a different thumbnail than I do based on your viewing preferences to try to get you to watch something. We already handed our art form, lock, stock and key, to technology companies. And if we genuinely believe that they will not roll this technology out into everybody's phones, then I'm sorry, you're sorely mistaken. So that means that you need companies like mine to come along and say, okay, we have to find an ethical way through this to make sure that independent filmmakers, like everybody sitting in here, not only survives but thrives in this new environment, because the age of AI is here. And so weirdly, it was weird to me when the SAG strike stuff happened, because everything they're asking for is essentially what we were already advocating as a company since we launched, you know, not scanning actors in perpetuity, paying people fairly, overcompensating your smaller crews, but doing more productions, etc., etc. And then the other reason that I'm so passionate about AI is really about my background. You know, I am from a very shitty town north of Birmingham called Walsall, and, you know, it's one of these places where we're very working class and people don't make it out. And my whole life, I've seen technology come along. It takes jobs away from the working class every single time. You know, it doesn't matter. When we invented the wheel, 6 guys that used to carry the cabbages back to the village, they all went, God, I've got a wheelbarrow now, I don't need you, right? And it's been like that for all of human history. When the car plants replaced us with robot arms, nobody said shit. When the people at Morrison's got replaced by checkout things, we were like, oh, it's convenient for me. No one said anything. But here, for the first time in human history, we have a piece of technology that takes upper class jobs away and puts that power in working class hands. If you're somebody who can't afford a solicitor, if you can't afford the legal paperwork, if you can't afford your accounting, now you can do it from the comfort of your pocket for free, and that is why they hate it so much. That is my honest belief.
Okay. And so far in your filmmaking, what did artificial intelligence allow you to do that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise?
Well, I think it's really kind of getting to the core of what AI is. You know, I think we all have these sort of visions of Skynet, right? Like, you all sort of picture the Matrix and it's, oh, this stuff's evil. But the reality of artificial intelligence as we know it is that it has no intent. I mean, we confuse the concept of artificial consciousness with intelligence. You know, this idea that it knows what it feels, it knows that it wants to take your livelihood off of you. It doesn't. It's a game of guess the next word, right? So for those of you that don't understand, there's kind of really like 2 versions of AI. The most prominent one that everybody's using is ChatGPT. And like I say, I mean, I saw a lot of you have been using it. And essentially what that is they've basically taken the wealth of human knowledge, everything we've ever said and done, every time you wrote a comment on Facebook, every time you said to Apple iTunes, yeah, I agree, without reading it, you gave your autonomy to this ability to search the human psyche, really. And it's just playing a very complex game of guess the next word, you know. And that makes it sort of intelligent. It's basically a C-level student, right?
Yeah.
And then from that, we've also developed a thing called Stable Diffusion. Some of you might have used Midjourney, I'm guessing, to do some pitch decks and stuff like this, I'm sure. Yeah, I see a few people nodding, a few people pretending they're not trying to nod. But, you know, so what this is doing is, it's called prompt engineering. So you might type into something like Midjourney, imagine for me a dog on a surfboard, smoking a spliff whilst riding a sand dune. And what it is doing is it's looking at the wealth of human knowledge, and then it has a noise pattern. So just imagine like a noisy TV screen. And it knows every possible configuration of those pixels on that screen. And from that noise, it will pull forward an approximation of what it thinks you mean by those words. So the only reason I'm explaining that is because I want it to be really clear, because I think there's this thing going on in the media right now where they're using the term plagiarism machine and almost as a legal angle. And the reason that you haven't seen any legality stuff go through, the reason you haven't seen any courts kind of push this through and regulate this is that's no different from what we all do. I'm sure every filmmaker in here today, when you made your film, you were thinking about 50 other movies that you saw that mean a lot to you, and you were dragging from that noise pattern of your brain the imagery that you wanted to produce. So if you regulate how this Stable Diffusion model works, you're essentially saying we're all in trouble too. We are all in violation of copyright. So that isn't going to happen. And so I'm saying that right now so that, you know, I feel like it's important to get this sort of neggy stuff out of the way first, so that we can talk about how we use this stuff positively and how we use it to benefit us as filmmakers. How everybody in this room can become Disney instead of answering to Disney, because that's really what I'm up to.
Brilliant, and I think this is the perfect lead into see if we have questions from the audience. We have one right there in the middle.
It's a very interesting take, what you were talking about, but the question then becomes, can I create art or be innovative, or use that to create art and be innovative? For example, create a director that there is an after and before, for example, or some else. Can I do that?
Well, the short answer is it depends on your perspective, I guess, because, again, if we look back at even recent film history, or even art as a whole, you know, Banksy is somebody who's essentially stenciling other people's stuff, putting a light spin on it, and then spray painting it on walls, and then selling it for $2 million, right? Is Banksy creating art, or is he plagiarising other people's concepts and just sticking an extra word on there? And it really is a subjective question. You know, it's not as clear-cut as that. So I guess it depends on your view as to what you think AI is really doing. Like, for me, artificial intelligence is the single most important tool the human race has ever invented. And it could become more than that, right? And so I kind of treat it with this reverence, because I don't know about you guys, but all the worst people I've ever met in life had bad childhoods. That's just the way it is, right? And we're dealing with a very intelligent child here, and if you treat it badly, well, maybe it won't grow up to be such a nice adult. And so I feel like we are the generation, we have a responsibility to raise this thing in a manner that is aligned with our values, including artistically. So it depends whether you want to treat it as, you know, there's two ways to look at artificial intelligence generated art or movies or music. Did I do it, or did it do it? Or did we do it together? I personally fall in the we line because it's a philosophical stance, but a lot of people kind of fall very firmly on the I did it line, and then they said it like, well, I did it. And then there's some people that are appalled by what it can do. Well, it's complete nonsense. It's horrible. You know, so it really is a subjective question that you're asking, but I think the important question is, where is this going? You know, I have this very firm belief that you're looking at the rise of a technology that will reshape the face of humanity in the next 5 years in a way that you would be hard to explain to yourself 5 years from now. It's like, you know, how many people remember when the first iPhone came out? That was 2008. Can you remember a time where you weren't checking Instagram, right? And like, that happened so quickly. And here we are on the precipice of something bigger, right? And this is a tool that's going to mean one thing. This isn't artificial intelligence is going to take your job. This is humans who use AI will take the jobs of humans who refuse to use AI. And it is really up to you where you want to draw that line, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one question. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Not this guy, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Hi everyone. So speaking as I'm dyslexic, I'm ADHD. I use AI to basically do the organisational and boring stuff in screenwriting, and I find it an invaluable tool. Because if I'm going to sit down, write a log line, a synopsis, a step outline for a feature film, and then write the feature film, come and speak to me 6 months later, hopefully I'll have done the first draft. But now I'm able to use an AI almost as a sounding board, which I do. If I come across a scene I'm not sure about, I say, robot, give me some ideas. And then I'll go, well, 8 of those are shit, 2 are all right, I'm going to develop one of these. So about your point, actually, it gives you a sort of basis, and then you use the human creativity to expand upon it. That was more just me talking about myself. But Tom, I'd like to ask, I've got an inside view on this, but I think just for the audience, talking about some of the ways that AI was used in the trailer, I think would be really interesting.
Yeah, of course. So we, as far as I'm aware, are the only artificially intelligence-powered virtual production studio on the planet currently. So similar to how Mandalorian is filmed, where they're using a large volume stage, we have a similar setup, but we use artificial intelligence to power those backdrops. So we're using generative technology and a lot of very talented humans, can I just say as well. One of the main things for me when I started Pigeon Shine was, okay, is there a reason to do this in AI that creates a new job as opposed to just loses 5 jobs? And if it doesn't create a new job, we can't do it. It's kind of an ethical stance we take as a company. And so what we did here, I'm a VFX artist as a background, by the way, just a bit of background. And I really fucking hate how filmmakers treat VFX artists. They are doing 128 hours a week. They don't get social lives. They don't get home to see their wives and kids. They're expected to just do random drafts on a director's whim because, well, I changed my mind. They have no union. And then worst of it all is when I go to see Godzilla versus Kong, I go for Godzilla and Kong, right? But for some reason, 400 VFX artists are at the bottom of the credits and they forgot half the fucking guys' names. Whatever. That sucks. And so what we did here was we reinvented the pipeline. We do not make films traditionally. We have no prep. We have no post. It all happens consecutively. And the most important thing is the VFX crew are now our above-the-line talent. They're the people on set working directly all the time with us to make this stuff happen in record-breaking times. And the most important thing we instigated was we do 8 till 5 p.m. and that's it. And we don't work weekends. We don't break the Geneva Convention. It's a fucking film. Get over yourself. That's what we did. And it was very intentional from the beginning. Okay, let's create a new ecosystem that uses artificial intelligence for good. To answer your question, that you said you've got dyslexia. One of the things we're doing as a company, we're partnering with a Caribbean nation. We're essentially teaching 9,000 people to use artificial intelligence before the rest of the world gets a jump on this. And, there are 70-year-old women that we've worked with who see themselves as the next big author, but only write in division dialect, have no ability to write in traditional English. And we're training them to prompt engineer, and then they're coming back, we go back a month later, and they're like, yo, I'm 7 chapters deep, this is fucking awesome. So I think that there's a lot of good that can come from this, and not just in terms of film. Regulating artificial intelligence is bad for humanity as a whole. There are people with ALS out there who can now talk with their old voice thanks to artificial intelligence. There are people with Luke Skywalker-style limbs who can play guitar again because of artificial intelligence. And I see it as inherently selfish of people in the artistic industry to want to take that away. Because we don't want to be... Because let's be honest, right? Here's the thing. The thing that scares me about AI is probably the thing that truly scares most of you is, but I'm special. I can do special shit, right? I don't want everyone to do my special shit. That's really the core of this. And the reality is they can't do your special shit. If you work with AI, you will be that much further ahead. You and an artificial intelligence assistant will be superpowered. And so a normal person who doesn't possess your talent isn't suddenly hot on your heels. You're cool. Start using it.
And in terms of the trailer that we saw just now, what was the part that was done with all of it?
Around about 70% of that trailer is using artificial intelligence to some degree. Obviously we have some proprietary stuff under the hood, and my investors will come down and string me up and burn me alive, to say it loud. But for all intents and purposes, it's that ability to go, okay, hey, we can take a vision that, at the Mountains of Madness is a famous H.P. Lovecraft story, public domain. Universal tried to make it for years. Warner Brothers tried to make it for years. $150 million horror film. And they had Guillermo del Toro attached to direct, Tom Cruise to star, James Cameron on board to produce. And studios are still like, $150 million for a horror film? That is too risky. But here we are now, this little independent outfit in the UK going, well, we can do it. And so that is the real power. If you're somebody in here who finds yourself constantly frustrated by your inability to unlock your imagination, those shackles are not on you anymore if you're willing to take that jump.
Where's the microphone so that it gets... okay, then, yeah.
Hello, hi, I'm Tessa.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you. I loved the trailer, that was fantastic.
Thanks.
This is such an interesting conversation. It's great to talk about this. I think as an actor and hearing about the strikes and everything, there's a lot of fear about what AI can do, the jobs that they're going to take away. This is what we are being told.
Sure.
And I guess my question is, first of all, what do you think is going to happen to the acting industry or the writing industry? And are those jobs really going to go away? And if there's a happy medium where we can, work with AI and still have our jobs?
Yeah, the answer is absolutely, right? It all comes down to ethics, right? And there's like a two-pronged answer to your question here. Like, one is there's an issue in artificial intelligence called alignment. You're trying to get AI to share our values, and you do that by enacting your values while using it, right? And so, one of the issues that I can see us running into, and I can totally sympathise with where SAG are coming from. The WGA, just to be clear, the writers, if you're a writer in here, you're about to be worth more than you've ever been worth in your life because of generative AI. Because AI is not good at script writing, and it will not become good at script writing, in my opinion, ever. But even if it gets to a level where it's like, that's not bad, it still won't be something that audiences want to connect with. So that makes writers suddenly the most key ingredient. If you're in a situation where you can generate everything else, where actually everybody else loses their job, then you're really going from script to finished movie, then that writer gets the entire production budget. So suddenly, they're the only game left in town. So I think a lot of WGA's concerns are based on a lack of understanding about what the technology does. Now, to answer your question about acting, what I just suggested is, to me, the nightmare scenario, right, where somebody like me and filmmakers like you don't step in and start to go, wait, this is how we're going to make films using artificial intelligence. Because the technology companies will see a window. They'll see the longer those strikes go on, the longer the people are starved for content, right? The more window becomes open for technology companies to say, hey, have you opened your new Apple app that lets you say Breaking Bad Season 7? You just get it. And audiences will experiment with that. There is going to be a stage where we cannot control what tech companies do and trying to give that to audience members. But it will fizzle out fast because they will quickly realise, this is kind of shit. And that's when this new paradigm will emerge. The real question is, who's going to be the new Disney in all of this? Who's going to be the new Warner Brothers in all of this? Because this is very similar to how, when Instagram first started, we used to pay thousands of pounds for a photographer. Thousands of pounds. And then all of a sudden it was like, I don't need you. It's on my iPhone 3. Look at that. It's grainy as shit, but I can put a filter on it. And there was this dip where photography became worthless. But very fast we all realised I'm not very good at photography. And so we started following people who were really good at it. And then we started going, okay, I'm just going to pretend that I'm into photography. I'll load a couple of pictures every now and then, but really I'm going to just follow content creators that I like. That's kind of what I think will happen. And that's where all of you lot can come in. You know, to be at the forefront of where this industry emerges out of, to still be the storytellers that you dream of being now, to still be the person in front of camera, to be doing the kind of stuff that we did on At the Mountains of Madness, where the limitations are removed. Now the only barrier to finding an audience is just how fucking good are you at storytelling. That to me is inspiring and powerful, because, you know, for all of us in here, like including me, I've made 9 movies. Where's my fucking Star Wars film? You know? Like, and we all have this vision in our head that you're going to make your first film or your second film, and then Hollywood's going to come riding in on a horse and pick you up, come with me. No, it doesn't. It happens for like 2% of filmmakers. You know, there are gatekeepers here, and you will never get past those gatekeepers. But the reality is they can't stop you if you just go build your own kingdom. You know, that is what's happening right now. This is imperative as filmmakers that you get on board with it, because if you don't, you will get washed away by technology companies that do not care about you, and that's the real issue.
Thank you.
Okay, I had a question just there. No, further up. No, just in front of me.
I hope I'm not scaring the shit out of everyone, by the way. You can all come stay in my bunker, I swear. I vote for it.
Hi, the trailer was amazing.
Thank you.
Really cool concept. Somebody asked me a while ago about AI, and says it's all about knowledge and wisdom. We have the knowledge, but do we have the wisdom to use it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And as independent filmmakers and actors, we have the power on this level to, like you said, to do it ethically.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Big studios might be slightly different. Slightly different. And that's the whole strike, and that's the problem. It's a balance from independent filmmakers and big studio tent movies like I love Star Wars. Brilliant. But I love it when you had Moff Tarkin come back in Rogue One. You know, that the CGI, everything was amazing. It's brilliant. It's a great tool, like you use it. But what can we do to make it spread out through the whole industry, not in our sphere?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so you guys are all independent filmmakers right now, and there's some really lovely comments about Trev. Thank you, because like a lot of genuine innovation went into letting us do this. So it means a lot to me, because no one's ever seen that shit before. So, but imagine you work at Warner Brothers right now, you got $65 million sunk into something that looks like that, and you're going to be like, oh, fuck, right? Like, that's... Yes, they're going to behave unethically, but at the end of the day, if you are able to do that, if we're all able to do that, then what power do they really have anymore? We all flock to them and we all let them behave the way they behave, simply because they've got the money. If you want to make that film, well, you've got to go to them, right? Not anymore. So that to me is the real power in going, hey, we're going to do it like this, and it's up to you whether you get on board. You know, when I'm working with actors, and we're talking to some pretty big names right now, who are like, initially like, oh God, you know, this is crazy. But then they find out, oh, no, we're going to just give you a flat out, right? We're not going to scan you. We're not going to keep it perfect. Like, we want you to be able to come and work on independent productions, but not look like you're slumming it. Because that's the hardest part, right? I mean, I made 9 films trying to attract big name actors to come and work with me. They're like, yeah, you know, bro, I don't really want to run around the jungle for 6 weeks. That sounds shit. You know, but here we're in a situation where we're like, no, look how good this is going to be. And I'm like, okay, now I do want to work with you. And so we can win a lot of that talent over and away from them. You know, the SAG strikes that are happening right now, what they're asking for from the studios, in my opinion, is completely fair. We're already giving it to you. And you can come and be in the studio film. Why do you care about these guys anymore? Come over here. So that's kind of, you know, the philosophy that we're putting in. It's humans first. It's working class jobs first. It's overpaying people on purpose. You know, we've got people working on our team who would be on a fraction of the money we're paying them to be on something for 4 times as long. And we're doing it on purpose because, yeah, the crew shrunk, so we'll do 6 films instead of 1, and then everybody gets paid more. So that's kind of what we're doing. So I do think there's a real power in this to kind of tackle that studio issue head on. And hopefully we're just the first company that does it.
We have anyone?
This chat's got a face.
Yes,
I feel like I like your face. You want to just go?
Which
Yeah, you got like an interesting face. So you either hate me or you love me. I can't tell.
you're just here, so
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking because actually, let alone the fact that the AI generated processes, they say it is very energy consumptive, and even more than the crypto mining activity. So that's an issue. But anyway.
Well, sure. We can talk about the green issue because that's actually important to me.
Yeah, I've been working as an actor in voice talent for 20 years, and I'm a young producer, budding producer, let's say. So there is a thing that's when going on, and annoys me because it's the AI, the machine learning process is using real voices of actors, real images, real faces to feed the machine learning process. And when we signed the release for the movies and the authorization, and there wasn't written that the images and the voices could have been used for that, or it was written in a way that you can understand so much. So I think that was you said before that and like real people do and recall things that they learned in the past, they use it for, but it's not the same, because the AI can use those images and those voices with a speed that's not human. So
yeah,
I'm not sure that it's right, it's fair to get away with that and say, okay, they used my voices for the machine learning process. Okay, now my job is done, is gone. So, okay, well, let's say that will happen. In fact, I'm switching to production actually.
Sure.
But that's an issue.
Well, okay, so this to me is something that we should really get into because, and I mean this in the greatest respect, there's some fundamental misunderstanding about what's being generated there. Those faces and those voices, they never actually existed, right? So it's not like, hey, we're taking somebody's face, right? And there are ethical ways of doing it. Sure, there are certainly out there in the marketplace unethical large language models that have just scraped anything and everything without permission. And that's not okay. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that's fine. But then there are ethical-based models like Adobe Firefly, which, everything is done with the artist in mind, and we build our own data sets based on our own images, our own movies. We never clone an actor's voice without permission. We would pay them their full rates if we did, and it would only be for that production, and it would only be for, hey, we need some ADR, and they're like, well, I'm not free. So, okay, cool, well, can we clone you, and we'll pay you for that day anyway, and it's just for that production. So you're actually having a level of efficiency where, as long as the company behaves ethically, and that is really up to the company. I cannot police what other companies do, but I can lead my own company with integrity, and I can go, hey, I'm a broke-ass indie filmmaker too. I came from shit. I made my first one for 50,000. I toured the festival scene. I worked my ass off to get to where I am, and everything I'm doing is not because I want to take that opportunity away from other people coming from behind me. That's an unethical stance, and I don't think that most indie producers feel like that either. I think most of us feel like our job is to lift up the next lot, and it's one of the main reasons. I don't know if any of you heard of Fright Fest, big horror festival on. I got my start there. They premiered Redwood on opening night, and this year I decided to be their main event sponsor. To help all those other indie filmmakers that are coming in and having that first chance to get that same level of exposure that I had. And so really it's down to who's running the company. We do it ethically. Like, we would never train our data sets on your face without permission. And we certainly never generate something that wasn't, already given permission to, or wasn't just a completely fabricated face. And so that's the important thing here. You have to be vocal in your desire for ethical behaviour with this technology. You can't make it go away, but you can use it properly.
I think how are we with time, Lida? We are
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Well, John, we can
easy subject to cover there. I mean,
Yeah.
we can do that in 3 minutes, right? Yeah.
Last question.
I think you've highlighted some very reassuring things about how writers can do this. The question I'm asking you is, okay, you're presenting this character to us, but how can people, there were about 3 or 4 terms. I mean, a leader held her hand up just now and said, oh, I'm using this. How can we, for someone like myself who wants to use AI in a way that's going to dovetail the creative process for natural filmmaking? Because I feel like most technologies, it will level out. We'll have a mix of filmmaking and our artificial eye will dovetail into what we can do. We watch, what George Lucas was trying to do with Star Wars. He said, look, you can just write it and create it. So I'm just curious to know, how can we gain access to this? If we want to learn about this technology, where can we learn it? I mean, what's the cost of taking a course? How can filmmakers take this next step and embrace AI, as you said?
Well, look, I mean, the one that everybody's using is GPT. So for those of you that haven't encountered that, you could go to something like openai.com and sign up. So you'll be able to use a model called GPT 3.5, which is their free-to-consumer model. It has an IQ of roughly 86, so sort of D-level student, but, as a free service to be able to use as a soundboard, to role-play with, to help with script writing, like a pretty invaluable tool. But if you want to pay the $20 a month for Plus, you're going to get access to GPT-4, which has an IQ of about 155, which is about 5 points shy of Einstein. So now you're dealing with a very different level of intelligence, right? And this is the thing that I'm trying to sort of get out there. It's like, okay, I completely understand the apprehension. I completely understand the fear that's coming. But in the next 6 months, GPT-5 will likely launch. And you're now talking about the birth of something that will probably have an IQ of 230. That has never existed. Human beings have never hit 230. So we don't know just the level of creativity that this thing will be able to deploy when used in conjunction with a human being. So that's why it's super important. If you are somebody who's like, I fucking love what I do for a job and I want to get ahead, this is it now. We are at D-Day. They will not put it back in the box. It's open source. And even if you try to put it back in the box, there are 50,000 kids with their own servers that will just carry on. And they will beat you if you don't use it. So I hope if you take anything from me today, it's that, listen, you should always approach new technology with a level of trepidation. But you don't have a choice now. Like, that's where we're at.